on 2nd October of the Gregorian year 1869, India gave birth to a baby boy without being sure of its future, or his future. That baby boy developed in stature as well as in experience. Grew up to become a man with firm intention, qualified himself in this country, India, that later also was called by the Inner Temple bar and became a barrister at law. Went to South Africa. Like many other passengers, he purchased a first-class compartment ticket and wanted to reach his destination. But because he was not considered to be a white man of Caucasian origin, he was thrown out of the compartment in a cold night, where he had to shiver, fighting the biting cold, and began a new era in his life, campaigning against injustice, inhumanity, unfairness, discrimination, and racism. This little baby boy to whom I was referring was none other than Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, later also known as Mahatma Gandhi, and or also Bapuji, a name by which I love to address him, even though he is no longer physically alive among us today. But even as a third person, so-called late Bapuji, in my view, or late Mahatma Gandhi, definitely played a very decisively important role in the history of the world. A man who made more than sufficient sacrifices by living a life of modesty, humanity, and primarily, above all, of non-violence. He showed the world that it was, and I believe, trusting my personal conviction, however humble and modest and worthless I myself may be, is still extremely significant today in a world of violence, where states are fighting other states, even the legitimate members of the United Nations organization of this very day, threatening to use nuclear weapons against the victimized states which they're occupying forcefully even today. Mahatma Gandhi sacrificed his own life in service of others. How much have we truly learned from him or from his life. A question I ask myself with all due despair, disappointment, indeed with rage, and indeed with all due respect towards his principles. Even today, I was utterly ashamed to be a man when I heard a program on BBC Radio 4 about a young lady who was deceived, entrapped, and later became a victim of intoxication and alcoholism, and was violated time and time again, every day for years, even from people whose fathers emigrated from this subcontinent of India and immigrated into England. What a shame, even upon my own self being a citizen of this country, where a great man like Mahatma Gandhi was born in 1869. On this day, October the 2nd. What a tragic incident that I happen to be alive in an age of violence. Violence is continuing against other states, against other nations, against other members of the United Nations, against other communities, against other races, against other genders, against those of inferior age, even minors of tender ages, children and babies. What a shame upon my own self I bring today by not being able to act properly in protecting the victims of such inhumane violence today. Even to my utter shame and disgrace, I have not been able to move my fellow citizens of this country and my fellow global citizens to come forward combating such inhumanity against the victims. Today, October the 2nd of the Gregorian year 2022 is a yearly incident which we call anniversary of Gandhiji's birthday. The birthday of a man who sacrificed himself in service of others, in trying to protect the victims, in protesting against inhumanity, injustice, racism, discrimination, and evil of every type and kind we can imagine. What have we achieved during all these years? Since Mahatma Gandhi came to this earth as a human being, died as a human being, as a martyr, even in the hands of fanatics. What a shame to ourselves today that in our country we have forgotten his morals, his doctrines, his teachings, his life. This is a day of sadness for me, instead of a gladness of a man who was supposed to be the pride of our nation. I bid all of you a solemn night from my country, India, the very birth country of late Mahatma Gandhi, the father of our nation.